even if you're told that you might be sexually harassed at your workplace, that doesn't mitigate any harm that women face when they're actually sexually harassed, right? On government side, what they're doing is they have to continue enduring sexual harassment. They have to continue enduring discrimination until the rest of their life. They have to brush it off because that's good for them. We don't think so. We think that on our side of the house, we're not just talking about collective benefits, about how we could change society as a whole. That's one benefit. But we also told you about you directly saying to your boss or at your workplace can give you a direct benefit inside your life. We think that is what we should stand for in today's debate. So in my speech, I'm going to talk about Gov's argument, talk about why they're not, first of all, mutually exclusive, second about why they're not important, second, and lastly, I'd like to talk about our arguments. So firstly, let's look at Gov's stats, right? They said they're happy to teach rampant sexism, right? And they talked about how this is the reality, right? But recognize that sexism has a spectrum, right? For example, women having no rights at all, and women having to be able to persecute men for sexual harassment, or women being completely equal. Recognize that there's a spectrum, and what they're probably going to teach is they're probably going to teach the worst case scenario about how you are going to be sexually harassed or you are going to be discriminated, right? So we think to some extent what they're going to teach is somehow biased or somehow talking about the worst case scenario and saying this image that the society around you actually sucks for women, right? But they're also going to teach about how to maneuver over about, for example, flirting or how to get away with sexual harassment. The reason why I'm saying this is because the one thing that they're talking about is they're talking about how choice. They're talking about how we can inform women about choice. But they're informing women with the wrong kind of image of how society is, right? They're telling that you have no option but to escape. That's why you have to flirt. That's why you have to shut up, right? So the choice argument, what they're saying, is non-existent because what they're teaching them is not allowing them to have a variable choice, but just a specific one-sided choice and options, right? Second of all, they talked about how they could prepare for these kind of things. Recognize that we're going to be very happy to teach them about some good parts about like what are changes, but what is currently rooted inside society, right? So we think the point about, for example, discrimination in university, we're very happy to teach them that, but we're not going to teach that all universities discriminate you. We're going to teach you some like medical schools, because you might get pregnant, you're going to be discriminated. So we think about the preparation. We could actually teach women about preparation and whatnot, but we don't really think preparing will mitigate any of that kind of harm. Thirdly, they talked about how we could protect women, right? But recognize that even if they could protect themselves in that one instant, they'll have to endure that for the rest of their life because men know that they could escape those kind of things, right? They experience getting away once when they sexually harass their counterparts, or even when they're at school. They're probably in the same classroom where the teacher is telling women to maneuver over that, right? They know, they have a psychological, they know that they could get away with that, so they'll keep on perpetuating women, right? But then they said, but if women endure it, they could become successful and role models. We told you about the internalization of victimhood actually makes women not strive for what they want. They won't, for example, go to higher education, or they won't ask for higher wages, or they won't ask to be promoted because they think that they can't succeed, right? But even if they, some women succeed, we already told you how they're going to be seen as exceptional cases or how they can't relate to that and whatnot. So we don't really think that the protecting themselves argument is really that strong. So on the comparative, what did we talk about? We talked about how when women actually actively speak about it, there's going to be a ripple effect, right? And the reason why we think a hotline is not enough is because simply people can relate with 1,000 cases of rape, right? When you saw Ito Shiori actually fighting up for her rights, even though she lost one court case, but she was able to win the next one, that incentivized women, that normal people like me can fight at the court and I might get a decision to help me, right? We think those are the kind of things that actually collectivize people. When you can relate to those kind of things, people follow the leader, and that's when movements actually occur, right? But we also talk about direct benefits, about, for example, just talking about with your counterparts in the workplace, or talking about how you're discriminated of where you're living in. There could be a direct change within the corporation because the corporations don't want to be sued, or they don't want to have a bad reputation, right? So we think we have a collective benefit with society as well, but we also have a direct benefit to women who are actually brave enough to actually speak up. That can only happen when we teach them to not maneuver. Very happy to oppose.
Thank you, opposition. Live.